Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kiersten. I like to read dark and disturbing things, and today this video is going to be my September 2023 reading wrap up. So let's just get into it. So September was not the best reading month for me. I had a lot going on in my professional life and life in general. So I only read, let me see, I only read 8 books, and one of those was a graphic novel, and one of those was a super short, smutty book. So yeah, not the best reading month for me, which is kind of a disappointment just because I was really excited over a readathon that I was participating in. It was Kelsey over at Slime and Slashers. She had her like evil carnival themed read along, and I absolutely love that trope. I love the whole setting of carnival, circuses, just that whole time of your life when you are younger and things seem so exciting when you go to like a carnival or amusement park or any of those things. And when you pair that along with some horror, it's just the perfect marriage to me. I love that trope. So I was really excited, but like I said, just too much stress was going on. And I did not get, that's okay. I did not get where I wanted to get, and that is fine. It was still a decent reading month. So let me just jump into what I read. Some of these you may have heard me talk about in my reading vlog, but I'm going to go over them again. The very first book I decided to read was Hide by Kiersten White. I buddy read this with Lauren over at Happy Hans Library. We kind of decided that this was both on our list, and we're like, you know what, we've heard not the greatest things about this. Let's just get this one over with first so that it doesn't continue to sit on our shelves. And I am so glad that I read this with her because she, first of all, is an amazing person to buddy read with. If you haven't checked out her channel, you should. She's got some amazing things going on over there. She's always great with these super thematic vlogs, and she just goes all in on these themes, and I absolutely love it. So I read this with Lauren. I actually purchased this, was it a year ago or 2 years ago? I feel like I've had it for 2 years. When it came out, I kept seeing this amazing cover, and I was like, I have to have that. And when I finally broke and bought it, I had just started to hear negative reviews about this book, and I feel like it is unjustly hated on. I think maybe it just didn't live up to the hype that people had for it with this cover. It didn't quite, it just wasn't what was expected. So I know that a big problem with a lot of people is that this is supposed to be an adult book and it reads more YA. I would agree with that but also our characters are fairly young. I don't know the exact age of everybody, but I think like a lot of them in their younger 20s. I know one character that it stated he was 18. To me that is YA. So what is this book about? This is about a contest that is invitations are extended to a certain amount of people, very specific people, and they say basically this is going to be like a huge hide and seek contest, and whoever wins gets some crazy amount of money. They know nothing going in what it's going to be or where it's going to be, and they are brought to this abandoned amusement park, and that is where they're going to hide. Little do they know that the stakes are very high. Not everyone is going to survive, and our main character has a very troubled past where she had to hide for her life. So she feels like, this is perfect. I've got this. I've already had to hide for my life. I can win. And it ends up becoming less of just like what I thought it was going to be, like a slasher type book. It is not that. It has some paranormal elements to it, but it is way more about generational trauma, commentary on like socioeconomical status, that kind of thing. So this is I think this is my second book by Kiersten, right? I also read Mr. Magic the month before this, and it seems like she likes to take things that she feels very passionately about that are going on around her and put it into a like horror setting. And I like the way that those two blend. I feel like she's still finding her groove to make like the perfect marriage of these things, but I am appreciating the efforts, and I gave this a 3.5 stars. My buddy Lauren, I believe, gave it 5 stars. She absolutely loved this book. I feel like Kiersten is almost there at getting all of us on board and making it not sound too preachy or too cartoon villainy to get her point across. But I think she's getting there, and I really like taking that commentary and putting it into a horror setting. So I did really enjoy this one. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I think that it is unjustly hated on. The next book that I read was part of Kelsey over at Slime and Slashers. This was her book pick for her book club of the month, and it was Looking Glass Down by Catriona Ward. Catriona Ward is a 5-star author for me. I've only read 2 of her books previously. I read Sundial and The Last House on Needless Street, and I absolutely loved those books. 5 stars for both. I was so excited to read another Catriona Ward book. This one I ended up listening to, so I think that it's important to mention that because this book it gets a little confusing, it gets twisty and turny where things are being revealed as you go along. And I do think that if you are not someone that listens to a lot of audiobooks, where I am not like an auditory learner, I need to read it myself. So I think that that kind of hindered my enjoyment of this book. So this book is very hard to describe, actually. I would say about the first third of this book, or first quarter of the book, I really enjoyed. It was a very slow burn, just getting to know our main character, who is going to like a family summer house near the beach, near the water, I believe in Maine. He ends up befriending 2 other people his age. I don't remember their names. Oh, one was a guy named Nat, and the other one was, I forget, it was a female. And he ends up becoming very good friends with them. Both he and the other guy have a crush on this girl, and so right away they make a pact that neither of them are going to make a move or try to pair up with this girl that they're friends with. They're just going to be friends. And I really loved this part of the story because I do love that slow burn coming of age horror that I thought this was going to be. And it does start off that way. There is kind of a big mystery that they're trying to solve, and all of a sudden things come to a head and you find out what happened, and the story just kind of changes from there. And it ends up becoming like there's a time jump in this book. There's a couple time jumps in this book, but there's one where now our main character is in college, and a book is being written about the past, and it gets really confusing. At some point, there's several books being written by different people using different names for the same characters. And in the end, I guess it all kind of comes together. But by the time I got to the end, I honestly just did not care. There's not a whole lot I could say about the plot that wouldn't, I guess, give anything away. But I don't know. This was a 3-star read for me. I just did not, I don't know. I just didn't get it, I suppose. But I did really like the very beginning, and I wish it had just continued on from there and not gotten so twisty and turny. This is way more like a thriller with a lot of twists and turns, but Catriona Ward is still a 5-star author for me, and I still will get excited to read any of her work. The next book I listened to was The Fear Zone by K.R. Alexander. This was to get some evil clowns in my reading for this month. And this is a middle grade, I guess a middle grade horror book. It is essentially a middle grade version of Stephen King's It, if you did not care about any of the characters and there was no developing story. Or it's about a group of friends who have encountered on Halloween night. So it does take place on Halloween night if you're looking for a book for Halloween. Somehow something is released and all of our friends are seeing their worst fears come to life. So for some of them it's clowns, I think for some of them one was a shark, one was his own father, which was kind of sad. But so it is basically like the entity of it, where it is just taking the form of your worst fear. I honestly, I mean, this was a quick little listen if you want something that's super easy to listen to, but I wasn't a huge fan. I was just kind of bored with it. But again, it's not written for me. It's a middle grade book. If you have a middle grader in your house that is kind of wanting to read something more on the spooky side and you're not really sure where to go, I think this would be a decent choice. So I gave this one 3 stars. Next up, I read Sallow Bend by Ellen Baxter. I got this copy from Twisted Retreat. I love the edges on this. I was really excited to read this because this takes place during a carnival, which fit the theme. And this is about 2 girls that go missing, and we are in the head of our main character, who is a janitor at the school where these children went missing. So our main character has a really hard time with facial expressions not matching the words that are coming out of people's mouths. And I don't disagree with him there. But because he's kind of this outcast, of course, people are starting to look at him that he might be the reason why these girls go missing. At the same time, the night the girls that went missing, there is a carnival that has come to town that is setting up, and they're also kind of being looked at very suspiciously. So while the carnival is like a huge part of the backdrop of this story, and it does play some parts in the plot very crucially, it is not the main focus of the story. The main focus is these 2 girls that go missing. However, when they are found, 3 girls are found, and no one in town seems to think that it's odd that a 3rd girl was found. In their memories, this 3rd girl was also missing, and only our main character, the janitor at the school, is like, what is wrong with everyone? There was only 2 girls missing. This 3rd girl, I've never seen her before in my life, but everyone seems to have memories of this girl. And things start getting a little weird involving this 3rd person that was found. Again, I can't really go too far into details because I don't want to spoil anything, but this kind of turns into like more of a supernatural thriller with horror elements. And I found that parts of this book became very repetitive because people have problems with their memory when it comes to this 3rd girl that came up. And you start to have the same conversations over and over. It gets a little old. So while this book probably really had me in the first half, it lost my interest in the second half. And it just didn't really fully deliver for me at the very end. For that reason, I'm giving this a 3.5 star. I do wish there was a little bit more explained, especially concerning some of the things that were going on within the carnival, but it was still a solid read, 3.5 stars. Next, I read a graphic novel that is, I guess it's a YA graphic novel. I kept seeing this around when it first came out, and my library help finally came up, so I was able to pick it up, and that is The Princess and the Grilled Cheese by, hopefully I'm saying this right, Deya Muniz. I can't read my own writing. This was a super cute graphic novel about I believe it was a king and his daughter, and the king is he's really sick, he's going to die, and he knows that his daughter cannot hold property as a woman, so he gives her a choice. I forget what the other choice was, but she decides to pretend that she is his son instead, and she starts dressing like a man and presenting herself as a male. And they go to all these little social functions, and really they're supposed to be laying low and just not causing any attention to themselves, so that nobody questions that, hey, weren't you the princess? So they're supposed to be laying low and not drawing any attention to themselves. But of course, they befriend like a princess of another town, I guess, whatever you call it. And they become very good friends, and like some love interest starts to develop between the 2 of them. This was just a super cute book about friendship, and the love interest is just very innocent. It's very cute. You could read this in one sitting, and I recommended this to my niece and she absolutely loved it. She is very into like Heartstopper type stuff, so if you are into like Heartstopper, you may also want to check this out as well. Next, I read an ARC that I received from NetGalley of Puzzle House by Duncan Ralston. This is an interesting setup. I really like the setup of this book. Basically, there is this guy who his job was to make like those escape room type things. So, you know, when you go in a room and you have to solve a bunch of puzzles to escape, he develops those, and he's like some million, billion, trillionaire, whatever. And he passes away. And in his will, it lists the 5 people that he would like, what do you call it? The beneficiaries? I don't remember the word, but the people who are listed in his will have to come to his estate to have the will read to them. And then it is revealed during the reading that these people, I forget how many they were. I'm going to say 5. I don't remember. 5 people, that in order for them to inherit this large sum of money, they need to solve this puzzle of this escape room, which is essentially his entire house. Like his big mansion has been turned into one giant puzzle room after another, and they have to go through this house and make it through to inherit the money. What makes it kind of strange is that the individuals that are chosen are kind of confused because they don't know who this person is, all except one. One was his ex-wife. So she is there just to see what the heck is going on, and the others don't even know who this guy is. So they're very confused why they are there, but they all kind of have interesting backgrounds, which makes the story fairly interesting to begin with. What they don't realize is that not everyone is going to escape these escape rooms. So lives are at stake here. Once they've agreed to do this, once they've agreed to enter the house, like they cannot get out unless they solve these puzzles. So there's no tapping out. There's no asking anybody for help. They need to survive these rooms and come out with their lives. So the very beginning, I was absolutely loving this book. I love the setup of it. I like the characters. They were all kind of interesting in their own way, and the puzzles were fun to begin with. But after like maybe 2 or 3 of the puzzles, I started to kind of lose interest, that I wasn't able to fully imagine what some of these puzzles were, or I just didn't care. I'm not sure which. So I'm reading along and I'm just like, okay, just solve this puzzle already. I wasn't invested or trying to figure it out with them. I was just, and I don't know if it was me or the book, quite honestly. I just was not able to picture what was happening after the first couple ones. And I was just like, okay, let's just get to the part where they solve this or somebody dies and move on. And so it kind of got old. I would say that this reminded me very much of some of the Saw movies. I haven't seen them all. I know I've seen the first one and I really loved it, and then it kind of trailed off after there. But it did very much remind me of the Saw movies. So if you were into those movies, you may very well be into this book. But I will say the end takes a turn. It just, I don't know what to say about it. It is very abrupt and things are not explained very well. So either you're really going to like that or you're not. I was just kind of like, about it. I think that we could have explained some of that a little bit better, but yeah, I mean, I had a good time for most of the book. I gave it a 3.5 star. I do think it could have been better had they explained or even just made the ending a little bit longer, because it just seemed very abrupt to me. So that one gets 3.5 stars. Then I read this. I don't know if I should say the name of this one. I don't know if that's going to trigger any kind of thing on YouTube. I don't want it to draw that kind of attention, if you know what I mean. But I became aware of this from Crystal over at Fiber Artsy, of course. And I mean, I had to check it out. It was, she was doing a week of weird with Jason over at Jason's Weird Reads, and I was like, okay, this fits both themes. This is a quick read. I'm just going to listen, or I'm just going to read this and see what it's about. It was very short. I want to say it's under 100 pages, so you could definitely read through this in one sitting. And I will say it was entertaining for what it was. This is not, I don't usually read smutty books, or definitely not smutty circus books, but I am seeing clowns in a whole new light. I think that the story was, I think that this is actually part of maybe a trio of stories, because three friends go to this circus or fun house or something like that, and they are supposed to whisper their biggest fear and their biggest desire to the person that is admitting them. And we are following just one of the friends that goes in, and basically they make those things come true for her. I think that the author was very creative in a lot of the things. I mean, maybe I just don't read enough clown smut, but I think that they took the theme and really ran with it and made it as fun as possible. So I gave it 3 stars. I feel weird kind of rating these kind of books, but it was a fun little read. That's all I'm going to say. All right. And last but not least, because this was my favorite read of September. Yes, September. And that was The Cotton Candy Massacre by Christopher Robertson. I've had this on my shelf for a little bit. I've heard nothing but great things. I was excited to read it. It is a little on the long side. This one is 353 pages. So this definitely fit the theme, and I'm glad that I ended this on such a good note. This is a fun clown slasher. If you loved Killer Clowns from Outer Space when you were younger, like I did, I've seen that movie so many times. This is the book for you. And there's a part 2 I haven't read yet, but there is a part 2 that I'll probably save for next year. So this is an extreme horror book. There are a list of trigger warnings in the beginning if you need to read through that kind of thing. And what I really liked was they included a Spotify playlist that went along with this, which, I mean, I just thought it was cool, a cool idea. And there are like songs that are mentioned within the book that were in that playlist. So it just kind of like fully immersed you into this world, which was really fun. So this book starts off with a clown back in the day that was not a great guy, and he ends up getting killed off by a cotton candy machine, like fed into it. I did not know cotton candy machines were that deadly, but maybe they were back in the day. So they shut down this circus they call Bonkin's Bonanza, and it's been shut down for quite some time. Well, it is reopening. We are in the summer of 1989. So this book takes place in the late 80s. If you grew up in that time, you're probably going to appreciate this. I think that they really took the time to make the characters talk in a way that represented that time, and the music and everything that's mentioned. It was really fun. So we have a group of friends that are going to check out this, is it a carnival, a circus? I guess it's like an amusement park. So they're going to this amusement park that has been shut down due to murder and evil doings. And it's going to reopen, and we're going along with these friends. The author really takes the time to let us get to know this group of friends and all the characters, which I really did appreciate, because I feel like a lot of extreme horror or slashers, you don't really care about the characters at all. And I'm glad that this author took the time to really build up that story and didn't just throw us in. Once things get moving in this carnival though, it is crazy. It is a fun time. The author really took the time to think about all of the creative ways that one could be tortured or killed at a carnival or a circus or an amusement park type setting. And it was just a lot of fun. I should also mention that the people that are doing all of this, all of these evil killings and things, they are just normal people that were turned into clowns. So I thought that aspect was really fun. It wasn't just like this evil carnival came to town with a group of people that came in that we don't know. These are characters that we got to know and got turned through quite a creative way, by the way, but got turned into these clowns. And so you kind of have empathy on both sides for some of these characters, because it wasn't just this evil thing that came in causing all these problems. We had characters that we cared about that were not living the best life, that got turned into these clowns that are now doing these things. So it was pretty interesting a pretty interesting different take on that, I think. I will also say the stakes are high in this one. You are going to lose characters that you care about. I would just say that nobody is safe in this book. So you have your main group of friends. Don't go in expecting to leave with that group of friends, all of them. My only complaint about this one is that it was a bit long for what it was. I don't mind reading long books, you know, I don't mind slow burn, but I feel like once the action started happening, that period of time just went on for too long, and it was just kind of waiting for the conclusion to happen. It was like, yes, we get it. All of this is happening. So I think if there was just like maybe 50 to 75 pages removed from this, this would have been the perfect book for me. It just went on a little bit long, but that is my only complaint about this book. I really liked it. I'm giving it 4.5 stars. So let me know down below, what was your favorite read of September? And have you read any of these books? Do you disagree with me? I like to interact with you guys in the comments, so just let me know your thoughts down below. If you were here and you have nothing really to say, particularly, but you want to let me know you were here, I like seeing that too. How about you leave me a clown emoji down below, just so I know you were here. I'm also going to link my my vlog where I discuss some of these books during it. I may have forgotten some of the details by the time I recorded this, so I just don't have the best memory when it comes to recapping some of these things. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay spooky.